Bill, from your perspective at the end of the game, what happened and what was the role that your players played in that, specifically to D'Souza and Dave McCormick?
Well, obviously there was a role that was played by our players, but I got to watch the tape and see all the angles and all that stuff to know to the extent of it. But I know that we were in the wrong. I'm not saying that both parties weren't in the wrong, but I know that we were in the wrong. I was shaking hands with Bruce as the play was going down to the other end. Bruce came down to shake hands, and so I did not see what transpired until everybody started running out there. I didn't even know that it was a melee until, 3 or 4 seconds after everybody was out there, because sometimes those things kind of start and they just kind of dissolve. But yeah, that was an embarrassment on our part for the role that we played in it, and there will be consequences. And able to study it and come to terms with all of it.
Bill, have you seen any video or images of
I did.
What were your thoughts on what you saw on video or?
First of all, I don't have my readers with me right now, so that's on phone I have a hard time seeing very well. But my initial thoughts is exactly what I just said. Is that without knowing exactly everything that went down, it was obvious to me that we played a role in what transpired, and there will be penalties for that. But I need to see the film before I can comment and have any definitive thoughts on exactly why or how it got started, because to be honest with you, I do not have any idea about that. But even regardless of how it got started, that's no way for mature men to act regardless of the situation.
Coach, did you get to talk to any of your players, ask them any?
And there was no discussion
Okay.
of what happened from their vantage point. We talked to them and relayed to them how selfish it was. We relayed to them how disappointed we are. We should be in here talking about Christian Brown, and selfishness definitely created a situation where that's not going to be the storyline whatsoever. So there was no communication back and forth. It was one way.
Bill, Bruce Weber said in hindsight he wishes he would have told his players to back off more at the end of the game. Do you take any exception to the way they ended the game, playing until the final second?
I think it's a little bit different because we've had multiple issues with K-State on this front. I think it's a little bit different if you have the lead and the other team quits guarding. Obviously, you don't go score. If the team is behind and you teach your kids to play to the whistle or play the possession, I don't think that you should take total offense to anything that transpires. I'm not sure that it's the right thing to do, but I'm not going to place any blame on Gordon going and taking his ball. I mean, Silvio know he was being defended, and he took his ball, and certainly the way Silvio reacted to him taking his ball, going down and blocking the shot, that's all fair game. Corn hadn't gone off yet. Then what transpired after that is obviously what set everything off. So I'm not going to take offense to that at all. Do I think it's right? Probably just depends on the situation, but you've been in enough situations and enough hostile environments and things like that you should be mature enough to handle it, whatever's thrown at you towards the end of the game.
Can you just talk about Christian's night?
Matt.
Christian's night.
Well, he was the best player in the game. For his first K-State game, usually going back over time, our kids from Kansas and kids from Kansas that played at K-State have taken great pride in this game, maybe more so than some out-of-staters do. And both teams are limited on the number of in-staters compared to maybe some other schools because of the proximity proximity to players, but you know, I know it meant a lot to Dean Wade. I know it meant a lot to the Wayne Simeons and certainly Christian Brown. It will as well. But I thought he was terrific, and the lid came off, and you know, still we shot the ball pretty poorly. I think we could be like 3 of 18 if it wasn't for Christian shooting the ball from 3. So that's obviously something we got to get better at. But I thought he was the best player in the game.
Bill, is somebody who loves this, you know, the college game, whether you're a coach in this or not, kind of, what's your reaction when you see stuff like this happen in college basketball? And what do you think the general public maybe response should be when they look at something like this?
Well, it's obviously it's an embarrassment. It's not something that you'd be proud of. You know, what happened is absolutely zero signs of toughness. I mean, it's a sign of immaturity and selfishness more so than it is toughness. So if I was a fan watching, you know, obviously, depending on what your perspective is, there would be nothing about that would intrigue me to want to watch more. At least from what happened tonight, I don't see anything positive. You know, we've seen things like this happen other places, and certainly it gets some attention, and you know it's the exception and not the rule, but still it's inexcusable. I mean, these things can't happen. This doesn't have anything to do with competition. Those were selfish motives on why it took place at the end.
Bill, did they tell you who got ejected?
The entire team, for both teams except for the 10 players that were in the game. So, you know, it's kind of a screwy deal, because I didn't understand that, because everybody thought the game was over, and it happened after the game. But I guess after the officials looked at it, there was 1 second left, and so anybody that left the bench, even though both teams were in handshake lines, anybody that left the bench would have been ejected, and the only people that could complete the game would be the guys that are on the floor at the end. So Silvio got a technical for taunting, and then all bench players were ejected. So,
Is there a rule that the next game guys who get ejected have to sit out?
as far as there wasn't a fight with those guys that ran out there, to my knowledge, but the league office will make that. But there will be certainly you know, consequences, and I'm sure suspensions after I study it that will come from what we determined to have happened.
Have you heard of, I mean, there's a lot of fans sitting back there in that area, right? Have you heard if anybody got caught up in this, or if anybody was injured or anything like that? Do you know?
It happened in handicap seating.
Yeah.
So at least you're going to do something. At least take it on the court or whatever. It's ridiculous that they would go into the stands. And so I haven't heard anything like that. I haven't heard of anybody being injured or anything like that, but you're asking the wrong person, because
Sure.
I certainly wasn't part of that. I'm part of seeing that.
Bill, there's a lot to obviously sort through with what unfolded tonight. There's an image that's circulating that shows D'Souza with a chair over his head.
I actually saw that.
Okay.
I was there when that happened. So there'll be, which is regardless of what happened, it's a terrible image, and there'll certainly be consequences for that.
Anything else?
Thanks, Coach. Okay.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.